My name is Chakyo from
Sorry for not making the
Taipei.
time on time. It's a little long.
So this invited speaker is Dr. Kason O'neIl, one friend of mine from Tennessee State University. He will talk about more coaching science and the coaching education system in the United States. Let's welcome to the Dr. Kason O'neIl. The stage is yours.
Sorry. All right, hello and welcome. All right, thank you. First, my name is Kason O'Neill. I'm from East Tennessee State University. It's on, I'll show you in a minute, but it's on the East Coast in the mountains of Tennessee. But I can't do anything without saying thank you. I just could not be more honored to be here today by both institutions helping support the amazing things you're doing. And I'm going to be honest, in the 3 days that I've been around, I'm just so honored to meet all of you and the conversations I've had. I really hope to keep those going after I leave. I'm very appreciative. So who I am really quick is I came from a physical education and sport pedagogy background. I taught for a bunch of years in New York. I'm a New Yorker. Originally, I'm from the mountains of New York, right by Lake Placid, where the Olympics were held in 1980. And then I got a master's in sport management, but really where things kept, after I was done teaching, I wanted more. I really did. I just felt like being in higher education, and I went to UVA and specialized in sport pedagogy at the University of Virginia. Just real quick, because I'm a little bit different in the way I do research. Well, even though I have, I think, 33 publications, a lot of it is community driven. So I want to know a little bit about who I am, and it might be different than what you're used to, but it's my style. I'm from New York. And we moved to Tennessee. So we just drove our kids 13 hours and dropped them off with our parents to fly here today. So here's East Tennessee. Here's our campus real quick. Our beautiful, we work in the dome. You can see the Appalachian Mountains. And here is our home base. So we have our football, sport performance. We have our batting cages. We have our gun range. And this is where we have our sports science and lab that's very famous, actually, right here in the dome. But this is where I do a lot of my, if I teach physical education or sport pedagogy. So that's who I am. I'm here more to talk about systematically what's going on with coaching education. And really for me, this started, even though I've been in the world of physical education for over 20 years, it really started more about 12 years ago when I became a dad. And I'm a father of 3 sons. And I'm the guy that, even though I'm at work all day and work normal hours, I coach everything. And I still do today. Just this past, I was coaching 3 soccer teams and a track and field high school team. Right? So my wife might not be able to stand, but I'm always busy. And it really stemmed from what is good coaching education. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why in America, it's a system that's broken, it excels, but it has a lot of broken parts. And the lens I want to approach this today is that coaching education for me stems a lot from the grassroots, secondary, and a little bit with university. While my specific specialty is not in sport biomechanics, I do a lot of grassroots stuff that links what is quality coaching education. I was a college athlete at university level in track and field. I still coach track today. So that's really what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to link that to a lot of the technology I'm using and that are very highly used today. So I think you can't talk about coaching education in America without talking about the sociology of sport. I was raised in a community where everybody plays everything. What does that mean? Is that I played football, I ran track, but everything is community driven. My children right now are growing up and they're in a soccer program that even though they're in the middle school or elementary, it's driven by the school. And what do I mean by that? Your community means everything. Sport is driven around community. If you go to This is right down the road from where we live. This is a Friday night high school football game. The whole community shows up. So sport is not just this thing where at this elite Olympic level. It is so ingrained in what we do in American culture. I just went to our local team, basketball. They made the city championships. And I couldn't even get a seat, right? The whole community. So it's very much ingrained in what we do. And that stems from how we internalize ourselves and identify, right? So it's really a place where we hang out, and it's a cultural experience. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit about the decentralized model that we use, and then how we add technology into them. Right, so here's grassroots. Here's this last season, coaching U11. This is our travel league. And then, right, so we have grassroots and youth. We have secondary, which middle school and high school are very big sports programs. Most of the money in a lot of school systems, after you peel off what's for math, science, English, and social studies, a lot of our taxes go towards youth sports. They really do. So that's a lot. This is our local high school coach. This is ETSU. This is our female university level sports. And then we have professional sport. So the lens of what I'm going to be is very much, what does coaching education look like from here to about here? And that's really where I'm focusing my future research as well, is what is quality coaching education? A parent came up to me when I was coaching little guys. And I don't know if you've ever coached kindergartners before. And some of you are going to be like, I would never coach a kindergartner in my life. And they say, you do so well with the kindergartners. And I know that's just really kind of herding cats, but there's science behind how to stand, where to go, how to give feedback, what to say. And I thought about, how does my child, or how can I give them the best experience? And it really stems from this coaching education process. So in America, it's, if you want to coach, do you want to coach tomorrow? You could coach. And that's interesting. There's no barrier to entry at the grassroots level. I was just coaching 3 weeks ago at soccer against a dad that I thought was very unprofessional. Dads, moms, they all coach their own children. So, and that was a city league team. So if you think about it, my son is going to grow up in that program, but they don't have teachers, they don't have scholars or from the high school or middle school coaching. So who has to do that? At the grassroots level, a lot of the time that times stems from parents. My wife coaches, and right now, from a coaching education perspective, there's nothing required. If you wanted to coach volleyball to high schoolers in our city rec system, all you have to do is pass a background check and get first aid. That's it. So this grassroots and youth level is where I hope to have future impact. I want to look at, and a lot of my research is looking at, what is quality coaching education. The quality here becomes the issue. Right? If you think about, okay, he has sport pedagogy background, he has a background, but what about the guy that was next to me that I thought was saying things were unprofessional, right? So the variability in quality can be a major issue, right? And a lot of the times there are professional development opportunities, but they're optional. So, and I'll tell you a story quick though. I also have a son that I pay money for him to be more in an elite level soccer program. We call that a travel league. So he plays in the city. The entire season for my son costs $25. And I don't know what that would be. Very cheap. Very cheap. And we can spend a lot more in this expensive travel league, but I'm getting coaching that's more elite. I'm getting coaching that stems maybe someone who's been in the program. So in the same grassroots variability from A to Z, you could have a program where a person doesn't know what they're doing. And now you could have, in that same grassroots system, if you pay more, you can get that more individualized and specialized training. But what does that do? That starts in baseball, predominantly in the South, and soccer, it's about who has money, right? So the student athlete, or if you're 12 years old and you're a phenomenal soccer player, and your parents don't have money, you're not going to be able to get that high level coaching that you could at the grassroots level. So a lot of times you'll go to the city league or a lower So really quickly, the coaching profile here of secondary middle schools, which you sometimes call junior and high schools. This is the cultural community that I was talking about before. This is your Friday night lights. This is your showing up. We have a lot of resources that go into this. Our taxes go into it. So for example, just the high school I went to in New York, we had football, basketball, baseball, all of that. We had cross-country skiing, we had downhill alpine skiing, we had lacrosse, we had field hockey. So all of that has to get paid for. And you got to think about your taxes. But what is the coaching education process for them? Well, most often they are teachers who work in the school system. They are your physical educators. So most of the students in my physical education and sport pedagogy class, they're the ones, as soon as they leave, they want to get jobs in the local schools. And a lot of them go back to their community, right? So they're born and raised in Shinsu, and they want to go back and teach because it's so community driven. They want to go back after they get, so there is a higher level. This is where we're starting to see a lot more sport performance. You're seeing universities start to tap into more. Now, universities can't talk officially to schools in secondary and junior high and high school, but you're starting to see the strength and conditioning coaches, the ETSU, for example, strength and conditioning coach on the side, he helps the strength and conditioning program at our local high school. So we're starting to see that, as you all know, the sports science is starting to bleed more into the secondary programs. And this is newer, this is true. Especially so what is the coaching education process and profile, right? So teaching license is usually required, but no formal coaching education. We do have the National Federation of High School Sports. They offer a lot of professional development that schools and coaches go through. And then finally, university athletics. University athletics is a totally different beast. I'm sure you know that you all have heard of the big football programs, and NIL is really big right now. But so who are these people? What is the coaching education profile? And this is they're most often athletes, past athletes. Most of the people that you see in America, and they're on TV coaching baseball or softball, most of them didn't go through a coaching education program or a sport pedagogy program. Why is that? And I want to look at, can that be a process that we start at a lower level? What are they usually? Past athletes or work their way up as graduate assistants. Now the pay, right? We have 3 levels of athletics in the US. There's D1, which is the big programs. Division 2, which is kind of medium. And D3 only means you don't get scholarships. I was a D3 athlete. I could have competed with D1 athletes. I just didn't get scholarship money. So most of the time, you will need an education though, right? You do have to have a master's, and a lot of them get through. I want to show you someone real quick. For example, look at the coaching pro. This is Brooke Savage. You don't even have to know who he is. He's our current coach. But the coaching education process is what I want to know. He actually, look where he started. He was just a graduate assistant right out of school. So he graduated, and he spent years working his way as an assistant coach to be a head coach. So the coaching education process comes in 2 ways. It's either through sports science, biomechanics, performance management, or it comes from the traditional route of working your way through a system. And these systems right now, and you may have similar, are struggling to talk. And we're doing better to have the sports science and biomechanics and even sports psychology, mental health to fuel this. But if you think about this, is this person, did he have a coaching education degree? No. But look how long it took him to get where he needed to go. This, of all the top colleges and universities in the US, this is the typical profile, right? So they just started and they worked their way up. So when you think about university athletics, it's a hard road it's a hard road, all right? And many of them have to invest from the beginning. And then finally, you're professional. You're professional, usually your pro or elite levels. This is not my specialty today. I'm not going to talk about pro athletes, but it's just the tier system that I wanted to talk about. They usually, again, don't have any formal degree, but hold a bachelor's or master's. So the things that I'm still at the grassroots level ask myself, and where I want to go with a lot of what I've been doing and looking at future research is, can we impact, whether it's through long-term athlete development or through quality coaching education, can I impact things at more at the secondary level? Can I create a university-based coaching education program that is more, and I know there's out there, Florida State has a big one, Michigan has one, but how can I create that for the community that surrounds me? And a lot of my research has been in technology and physical education and sport pedagogy. And while I want to do that, I'm still a researcher who truly, I want to help the community I live in. So that's where, so coaching education training. Now again, I only throw this up here to show you that the USA Track and Field, the US Olympic Committee, and this is soccer, US Soccer. They have coaching education systems you can join. So for example, if you want to coach soccer tomorrow, you'd be like, okay, I want to be a level 1 coach, right? A level 1 coach can do stuff with what I'm doing right now with youth, grassroots, and you can start to work your way up. But it's not required, and it's self-motivating. So you've got to think about, how are we approaching? To be honest, when I was thinking about coaching education for the last 10 years, it's so big, but how do we bring it to something that I can clean up and make efficient for my community? So this is just to show you that you could join a level 1, level 2, level 3 track and field certified coach in US, but you're fully invested. I was level 1 track and field coach. I didn't go on to level 2 or 3, but it wasn't required of me. So this is where the university coaching education system, and hopefully specifically ETSU, comes into play. And this is the model that I've been hearing about a lot from you all, is that we have to do better at playing together. I'll give you an example. We had a sport performance guy in our department. He left, he took a job with the New York Jets. But I saw one day, and he had 12-year-old girls, and they were all wearing the GPS monitor system. They were all wearing catapults. Now, he got them from the university, and I said, what are you doing? And this was maybe 12 years ago. He goes, oh, I'm tracking all the data on my 12-year-old girls to see where they go, biometric with speed, output, right? And he goes, you don't need to do that, but I want to turn this into real-time data. I heard someone talking the other day, it was during the keynote, and he said, so much of us still as coaches lead by what we see and how we feel from experiences. Well, you all know that that's not a model that's going to sustain us in the long term. We have to be data-driven through, 1, we have to build the coaching education and the pedagogy, and 2, we have to implement it with a system of data. So that's where we are coming in, and I'm sure a lot of you are playing with sport medicine, biomechanics, because we're going to contribute to this. I'm going to jump ahead to this integrated support system team. This model is very, very popular at the university system right now. Right here at ETSU, we are a D1. We're at the top level. There's actually 2 tiers of D1. We're the second tier, so we don't play Alabama or Tennessee, but we've created. So our athletic director came out about 5 years ago and says, baseball, softball, soccer, stop treating this like you're all independent. We are one integrated group. And I'm going to go out, and he hired a psychologist, mental health. Yes, we're going to bring in my department, the sports science team. We do athlete monitoring. We have right now the baseball and soccer team. They come in 3 times a week for athlete monitoring, and we shift the team based on the season. But we're going to bring in the coaches, the sports scientists. We hired a new nutritionist. I mean, I don't know if you've been around, at least in America, 18-year-olds who leave their home, they're eating junk, right? So how are we fueling the elite level athlete? I've eaten better here in 3 days than I'm loving the food here. But right, so the first time they lived away from mom and dad, right, how can they stay at elite level? So why am I saying this? Is this integrated support team, NCAA programs are investing heavily in one full team, right? The full support team, with athletic training and strength and conditioning to fuel and integrate performance. So I'm backing up a little bit, because I'm going to talk about, and I know this is a sport technology, but what are we doing to help increase that integration? And that comes from what I do with technology. And I know some of this you've seen before, but I'm just going to tell you the stuff we're doing on the ground, grassroots, right? That's what really is efficient. And what we're doing is, right, we need this data. That's what this whole slide says. We need data to form decisions, all right, to make decision making. And like I talked about, many of the coaches in the US still have this traditional mindset. I was talking to our football coach the other day, and I go, wow, you just hired a new coordinator for defense. Like, well, he's been doing it forever. That's just what he said. Well, why is this person good at what they do? Oh, they're tough on the athletes. They've been doing it forever. Well, I had a sports science faculty with me, right? And we're both, how is data driving that? How is this integrated support team, right? The eyeball test is not going to be sustainable moving forward. Right? So we need to bring in, yes, the practical experience. You've been there. Your experience in golf. You're going to bring that experience in because you know the feedback and cues you need to give. But at some point, to look at that swing, we have to bring in data. We have to see what your hydration levels are when you come in pre, post, during that periodization stage. We have to use technology and have a more integrated system. I think, in my opinion, the US we're still trying to do a better job with this integrated system. Coaching education and coaching is so broad, and everyone feels they are a coach, right? I could talk to the guy down the street who's coaching 6th grade or 6-year-old girls. I also can talk to an elite level sport performance. They call themselves coaches. But I struggle with the education process and the integration system, and that's what a lot of my research is looking at. I'm going to highlight in the next 3 to 5 minutes, some things we're doing. I want to show my lens is very much grassroots and secondary because that's where I play. All right. Game Changer is the #1 app that we use with baseball and softball. All right. Everybody can download this. This is huge, right? So we do a lot of coaching management here through Game Changer. I'm starting at your lowest level of entry with technology with coaching education, and I'm working my way up. There was a slide, but I'm starting basic. Game Changer is what you use a lot. Grandma at home, 10 states away, can watch the baseball game, right? And she can see live stats. We had a son who played travel baseball, and that's what we use. So Game Changer is an app that we use very often. Now, I'm starting low and working my way up to more complex technology. So in Game Changer, I can obviously also keep stats. When we had a son, this is not my son, but a good model. We had the coach over here. He would share the stream, and he would keep track of data. So when my son was up, he would track where the hit went, right? He would mark it, and he would keep track of data. So, all right. We're doing a lot right now in youth soccer. Again, I'm starting in least complex and moving up to camera tracking, right? So camera tracking, my son plays youth soccer, and we're doing so much with camera tracking now. Again, this is a way you can share things with family. But more importantly, this for high school and early university systems, our university uses a system similar to this. I can track certain players and plays. So we use a lot of, as you can see, a lot of times we have we use these most in ETSU and in our travel league more for practice-based, because a lot of our top level games are recorded. But if I want to look at practice, if I want to look at my son, my 11-year-old son, what he's doing, I can use camera-based tracking. It follows where the ball goes. This one's very popular with us right now. I can use this, right? So I can see this would be an example of my son, right? Or any athlete. Here's their heat tracking where they went. Again, this is a simpler version of what you already know with GPS or catapult based systems. But the other ones I want to show you is Huddle, and the only reason I talk about Huddle is that it's the #1 platform used by secondary coaches, so that's high school, and how they communicate with each other. So in America, if you're playing the town down the road in football or basketball, you're required to share your video of, right? So scouting, it's like a friendly, you share the video. You don't have to do that anymore because all the games in high school are now recorded in this huddle-based system. So for high schools and junior high schools, it records it similar to a very video, but I can timestamp and I can record plays and what they do. But the reason I'm talking about this today as a coach is that you can share this with other coaches and other systems. And I'm doing a lot of analyzation in this. I will also say if you are let's pretend this athlete right here is considering going to university, Huddle is the system right now that they use to share their video with universities. So Huddle is in-game tracking, and it's a lot of code. It gives you pre-codes. A lot of what I did in sport pedagogy is watching video and coding. This system is great because it helps you code much faster. Again, here's an example, basketball Huddle. I'm not going to spend a long time on this, but you can do in-game tracking and then just zip this data. It can do so much. Again, nothing new to you all, right? But as I work from basic to more complex is that video analysis, right? So I use OnForm the most of my students. And if you're a golfer, right? So I am a not amazing golfer trying to get better. I use this because it's low, right? So low hanging fruit. Did I hit something? Is the slide blank on there? Yeah. Yep. So
Maybe change it to your computer.
no, just go down here. Yeah, we can modify, adapt on the fly. Keep going, keep going. Go to Team Builder. Just leave it there for a second. So Team Builder is what we use in a lot of university systems. Again, I'm getting more This is our strength and conditioning platform. Most universities right now, even high schools, are using Team Builder. There's a base model and there's a more expensive university model. So ETSU, this is our strength and conditioning platform. So strength and conditioning coaches can come in, they can set what they're doing. A lot of our periodization work, it happens through here. We also have, so this sample is, the guy's name's Rocky. They measured hydration, but what they can do is, here's maybe Rocky's workout for the day. He comes in to the gym, he pulls up his app. The strength and conditioning coach already has today's program in the app, and he can either just do what it says, or in the system you have a recorded video for each, and it's just in the platform video, and then the coach can see and analyze and give feedback. A lot of universities right now in the US are using Team Builder as strength and conditioning platform. I'll do like so Catapult is our GPS. ETSU uses Catapult all the time. Again, I'm getting more into sports science stuff that you probably are familiar with. This is our GPS system. Jennifer, my wife, was just telling a story. We watched ETSU win the championships last fall, and the guy ripped off his shirt because he scored a goal with no time left, and he had the system on, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, right? He was wearing, my son was like, why is he wearing that funny shirt, right? Like this. But it was the Catapult system. You can go down, we track GPS data, heat mapping. This is a big part of what we do at ETSU in our sports science lab. You can go down to, does it allow you to? Yeah, good. So, we do a lot. Catapult is our #1 system right now we're playing with ETSU. Let's keep going. I think I'm about done here. A Catapult, we also do live data with heart rate monitors. Yeah, continue. The last thing I'll say that I'm not going to spend a lot of time, go one more, is that ETSU, a lot of, Chung's been there before, but we do a lot of athlete performance, and we do a lot of, our lab does a lot of athlete monitoring. That's the big thing that I will give credit to a lot of people who are not here at ETSU. Satoshi Mizuguchi, who is actually here in Taiwan, he's a past, Dr. Mike Stone. We bring in athletes and we do a ton of athlete monitoring. That's a big part of what we do. This is some of the stuff you have also done. So we have force plates, isometric. We have isometric jumps with weighted off the board, but that's a big part of what we do. Yeah, my last slide really will be the next one. Go up one. And we do a lot with isometric pull. So every athlete will come in 3 times a week and we'll look at nutrition. We ultrasound them to look at the hydration in 3 points on the body. They will run through a battery of tests depending on the part of the season they're in. We look at nutrition, urine analysis, and we monitor. We usually pick 2 or 3 teams a season. So right now, I think because baseball's heavy in season, we'll do a team that's out of season to track periodization as we progress. In conclusion, I know we have a lot of tech that's going on, but for me, it's about what is coaching education and how can I make my sport pedagogy program more data-driven, but produce quality coaching education. So I couldn't be more thankful for you allowing me to speak today, and thank you so much for your time. I turned it off. Yep.
Hello. Thank you very much for your incredible talks. Any question from the audience? Just open one, please.
First, sorry for I overused my presentation time because force you to rush up your presentation. So, like being a coach, I feel like much harder than being a professor because professor just focus on one thing, but coach had to learn many other things. Then how can I just like manage it? There are lots of field coach should learn like exercise, physiology, biomechanics, psychology, and each coach may have their own strengths and weakness for specific their field of study. So how can that kind of things could be regulated? Like is making averaging certain makers level.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. How do we uniform this education process? Now, I'm only one person, but I think it starts with one experience in the sport. That's the one so many people lean heavily on. You can walk into anything. But 2, I want to create a coaching education system that's highly focused on talk. Our coaches need to know how to talk the body, not just the sport. And I think that's missing a lot with the secondary, right? We have to have a baseline biomechanical knowledge. We have to have a baseline physiological knowledge. We have to have a baseline when it comes to sports psychology. If you don't know certain types of motivation forms, right? If you don't know sources of self-efficacy and how each source of self-efficacy could impact, right? So I think there's a fundamental knowledge that I think if we had it in a coaching education system, right, we could have a more uniform form of feedback. What do I mean? Because it's about the athlete. I always tell my athletes, nothing matters. This isn't about me. It's about you. And if I'm not saying the right words, where am I getting that knowledge? On YouTube, right? I have to create that program. I want to create that program that has not only the fundamental sport knowledge, but basic, fundamental physiological, biological, and very psychological knowledge. And of course, there's tactical and gameplay, but I think you could walk in with golf, tennis, soccer experience with that gameplay experience. I want to provide the baseline of the other stuff.
I do believe that Dr. Kason O'neIl speech makes a great impact on the coaching community in Asia and in Taiwan. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to show the certificate for the appreciation.
Anybody ever wants to clap? Thank you so much.
This is rather wonderful talk. I think it's quite related to our coaching science. Yeah. So I want to thank you again and also thank you for all the participants here. So that's all right then. So actually I have a couple of questions. So maybe I'll ask you later because our time is up. But this I saw some like never found in this year. So maybe later on we can chat together. Yeah. Thank you.